Hello everybody. Today we're just going to go over some conversions that I have on my table, and I'm going to show you guys how to use some basic. I'm going to teach you guys how to use green stuff, very basic usage of it. What we're doing is we're converting some demon princes. They're going to be demon princes, but we're making them into nurgle. And we're taking two kits, the Demon Prince kit and the Blight Drone, as you see there. Blight Drone's on top. I think that's what they're called, Plague Drone something. And then the Demon Prince is on the bottom. So we just combined them. So we are going to fill in some gaps and try to nurglize it a little bit more. And you can see there, I just pointed to the yellow and the green stuff. We don't want that. We want the green stuff to be green, just that. So I've sped up the video just so I can show you guys, so we can go through this. Make sure that you always keep your hands when you first start working. When I first start working with green stuff, I use water. I don't take out the good old petroleum jelly or the Vaseline until I have the green stuff on the model and I'm ready to start smoothing and adding detail. So right now I'm just conditioning the green stuff. Ripping off chunks. Yeah, I'm just gonna make a little snake here. I'm taking a plastic knife, just cutting it to the size I need, and I cut off a lot of green stuff, but I use it all. I eventually use it all. So here we go. I'm just gonna go in and start filling in little gaps. Now I knew on this guy I wanted to make an eyeball up top here. I wanted each demon prince to be a little bit unique, so I wanted this guy to have an eyeball where there was none before. So you can see I'm just building up a nice foundation. Now usually I would let this cure and then build the eye on top of that, but yeah, we didn't do that because I wanted to get this done. So I wanted to give you guys some extra videos this month. I know last month I didn't really post nothing. I've been really busy. There's been some stuff going on, so trying to stay on top of it this month for you guys. Those are embossing tools. I keep those handy. These next tools are gonna be clay shapers. Oh, nope, no, those are handmade sculpting tools. My buddy Dennis Zarnowski made those for me. Really good guy. Here we go. Using one of those. That's one of my favorite tools right there. Cutting off a little bit more. So pretty much you just go around the whole mini and fill in the gaps, create new elements where you want to, boils, pockmarks, so on and so forth. I don't think I really made any boils in this video. But these models are a lot of fun. I love converting stuff into Nurgle. Making Nurgle out of something that once was not. Again, we're just tucking that in there. Reason why I like to use a hard edge tool is I like to pack it down in there, and sometimes you can use that to really start mashing it onto the plastic and make sure that your adherence of the two mediums are good. Sorry, I don't know why those are the clay shapers right there. I was kind of at a loss for words right there for a minute. But those are clay shapers. I usually use, that's also like a dental pick tool or something like that. I don't know exactly what that is, but I know it came with a bunch of other picks that look like dentists use. So, but I've been using that tool, that spade tool, for a long time. But the clay shapers, there's certain ones that I really like, and one is kind of like a chisel tip. One is like a knife tip. That's a chisel tip right there, I'm pretty sure. And one just looks like a spike on the end of it. That's a really good one. Here we go. We are going to start working on the eye here. And I made it with the biggest embossing tool that I have. Get a little ball of green stuff. We're going to plop it right down in there. I don't think it was big enough at first. That's why I grabbed more. Sorry about my scratchy throat too, guys. So I realized when I did this, I still need to make the top brow and the eyelids. So, because I didn't want just like because right now it just looks like a boil, and we could have left it like that, but that, I don't know, to me it looked kind of odd. So we're gonna turn it into an eye here in a second, which is what it's supposed to be. But right now I'm just making sure it's setting in there, and now I'm making, you can see I'm making a little snake here. And at first it's so crazy because you look at stuff, the way I do things is I'll do something and I'll look at it and look at it and go back, and of course I want to change it. So here you see me, I'm making the eyebrow, I'm really happy with it, but I made it way too small. I keep looking at it the entire time. So now you gently, the thing with green stuff is, especially with hard edge tools, you barely touch it and it's gonna move. When you have it conditioned right, you have to be very, very soft. And here you can see I'm just barely pinching that little lip to blend it with the rest of that fresh green stuff right there. And then I'm going to go back over it with a clay shaper and smooth it out and make sure that it's really adhered together to each other, to that surface. And I'm being super, super soft with it, like as light as you can touch. You really don't need that much. And plus, you don't want to mess up the shape of your eyeball that you just put in there too. So you really need to watch what you're doing there. Like I said, I should have waited for it to cure. Some people have like their own little green stuff baking devices. And what they'll have is like a kind of like a big heat lamp. You know what I mean? Like one... it's like a tin. It's like what auto mechanics use sometimes. You'll see them using. Well, at least I know they did back in the day, but maybe not auto mechanics. I really don't know how to describe it, but it's a tin covering, and then you just put a regular lamp bulb in there, you know, of the highest wattage that thing can take, being safe, and then you put your little dude in a coffee can and supposedly keep him in there for like 5-10 minutes, and it cures the green stuff up real quick. So I'm sure other people have some secrets, but that's the way to do it right there. So in here I'm going to put the lower brow on. But that's what I should have done. I should have cured this first, but you know, when you're waiting for this stuff to cure on its own, it takes quite some time to do it. And you see, usually I work with green stuff with gloves on, so I'm not leaving fingerprints everywhere. But I do go over them with the clay shapers later. And the clay shapers pretty much, with a little bit of petroleum jelly, it removes the fingerprints. And petroleum jelly, aka Vaseline, any kind of lubricant really that's not gonna mess with your green stuff. I'm not really scientific. I don't know all the properties, but I know that some lubricants work, some don't, so you'll have to forgive me, please. But everybody can get Vaseline, I'm pretty sure, so just grab yourself a tub of that. In here, I'm just trying to get... You only have about 2 hours, really. I mean, maybe a little bit more to play with the green stuff before it starts hardening. But it depends on where you are, what the climate is, where you are. But you can't dally around. You know, you gotta be somewhat fast. So, and another thing, be very, very wary on where you put your fingers to. You don't want to put your finger in your sculpt, and I did that to this right on the eyeball later on in this video, and you see I just dropped it and I flipped, but you can see I'm doing the top eyelid now, and it's going okay. It's going okay, but it's still, this is where I start noticing, okay, this is a little too small on the top there. So I wanted to add a little character, so I put a little dent in that top eyelid. I don't think I did it right there. It's a lot of green stuff I'm gonna have to go through. Too much fun. just pretty much refining, going in, making sure that the eye is kind of circle, keeping that shape. Some people use like actual beads for the eye itself. I have never done that because I don't like keep beads around. So maybe I should. I do keep I have a bunch of little tiny beads that I got from a some hobby crafting aisle, and they are so tiny, but they're great for doing rivets and little studs on armor for 32 mil. They're perfect. Like I said, I just wanted to make these demon princes really original and different. Now, I did pull this idea. I didn't pull the idea. The customer pulled the idea. It's not that original, but I wanted to make them look different from the originator of this idea. Somebody had already put a bloat drone on top of a demon prince. And that's what the customer wanted. They sent me the pictures. I was like, okay, we can do that. And but I'm making mine different from what they did, obviously. So, and they did a gorgeous job. In here, you can see I'm going in. I'm like, okay, I can't take this anymore. That eyebrow, that eyelid needs to be a lot more defined. But I think we did pretty good, bringing this guy along on where he is, and I like how he's turning out. The thing about doing Nurgle is that you can kind of be loose. You still got to put your details in there and make them make sense. You can't be too sloppy, But when it comes to when you're throwing it on and covering up gaps in your conversion work period, there's so much you can do with the Nurgle. You could plop in a big chunk of green stuff and then take an embossing tool or the end of your, the end of your brush. Your paintbrush works really good, Just, play around with it. Push hard on it, push medium, push soft. That makes different size little pockmarks. So you don't need to go out and buy embossing tools to do it. Use the end of your paintbrush. Find things to make marks in your green stuff to create texture. You want a shred of believability. And texture will give that to you. Fingerprints will not. So, I hope that advice helps you a little bit, guys. Sorry about being out of the frame here. I'm just really going around and smoothing it all out, like I said earlier, with a clay shaper. You can also define it with your clay shaper as well. And you'd be surprised how much detail you can pull out of something with a very soft, gentle touch. You can really make a lot happen. So, shape it, look at it. Here we go. Now we're going to start with the big stuff here. I'm going to go around. There's a lot. I was pointing at all the areas on this model. It looked kind of like a beetle there for a second, didn't he? When I put him down on the ground, he looked like a beetle. Pretty crazy. Later on, his guy's shoulder pad pops off of the arm that has the sword. Here, I'm just shoving it up in there. You can see I switch my tools around. I only use about 3 or 4 different tools. But every tool has got its purpose. So these models are actually going to live in France after they're all done. This is a repeat customer of mine. Now you see that big area with the hole underneath his neck and everything? We're going to take care of that later. I'm going to teach you guys something about bulking out a model, so you're not wasting a whole bunch of green stuff or anything like that. There I am with the embossing tool again. We're just going to add some more texture to our model. I am so sorry about the camera work, guys. Please forgive me. Keep your tools wet at all times. Lubricated, wet, whatever, you know. I really don't use any lubricant until the very last. I work strictly with H2O until then. It doesn't matter, tap water, whatever, distilled water. I don't use, I use distilled water for my brush and my wet palette, but for my rinsing. But I don't use, I use tap water or whatever for green stuff. I put my thumb in this, surprisingly not as much as what I usually do. So again, sorry about the work. There I am going smoothing in some stuff with the clay shaper. Just smoothing. I'm being very light so I don't destroy the detail that I put in there. In there, I'm just blending in the green stuff. What I was doing, see there, you can get a good look at it. I was blending in that green stuff with the plastic, so that way when the model is cured and we go back, we want that line to be seamless. We want it to make it, once it's painted, we don't want anyone to know that we modded it. We want it to make it look like it came like that. That is the illusion. So what I'll do is, the reason why I'm blending it in as much as I can with the hard edge tool and then going in with the clay shaper to really smush it into that plastic is so when we come back, when it's cured, we can just go over it lightly with some very, 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 very low grade sandpaper. Very almost smooth, if you will, just buff it, and you will not be able to tell that difference. It's good stuff. Now here we go. We're gonna bulk out, and what I mean by bulking out is we fill in big voids with tinfoil or another element. Just glue them in there. You're gonna need super glue now to glue the tinfoil in there. Plastic glue won't hold, but super glue will keep that sucker. It'll take it a minute to really set in, but it will stick, trust me. So here you can see I'm going to go in there and plop it in there, because he's got a really big gap under there, and I didn't pull. I have a lot of green stuff there, but we've got a lot more stuff that we've got to fill, so I can't use it all. So we're gonna bulk out our model, and that's the term. We're gonna bulk it out. We're gonna fill in that negative space, and then we're gonna flatten out our green stuff and kind of roll it over it, kind of like a fondant, or whatever it is on a cake, you know. And then we're gonna add our detail nice and lightly on top of that. Boom, there you go. It's gonna be a big old gross, gnarly looking neck. And here I just folded up another piece because the first piece wasn't enough. Now we're gonna go up under there, trying so hard not to put my fingers in the green stuff that I've already put on there. I'm just trying to get it to glue and stay as close to the model right now. See how it still wants to come off. It takes a minute. I don't know why, but it takes a minute for the glue to really react between the metal and the plastic, or the foil, metal, you know, whatever, of the tin foil and the plastic. I think I dropped this model about 50 times. You can see, yep, I just pointed it, I put my thumb in it. So green stuff, you have to be very careful. You have to be aware of what you're doing. I ruined all that blend I had there too by putting my thumb in it. And you don't even know you're doing it. You don't even know you're doing it until you pull your thumb away and you're like, oh, you can feel it. Sometimes you don't even feel it. You just turn model around and you're like, oh, doo-doo. Like the closer you get to being, for, you know, like the end of your life of the green stuff, your workability, that's when you really don't feel you putting your finger in it. Because it's not as sticky anymore, but boy, it's just as soft, and it really picks up your fingerprints too. So it's another thing to keep in mind is your fingerprints. Use your clay shapers, use a smoothing tool, you know, or if you've got nitrile gloves, powder free, you know, use those. Keep those fingerprints off of your model, because nothing is more dead giveaway than fingerprints on a model. Fingerprints and mold lines. Keep your stuff wet. Keep your green stuff wet. Here you can see I'm flattening it out now. Just using a little tiny roller. I've had that thing for about 15 years. Got it like a Michaels, I think, or a Hobby Lobby. Yeah, I'm just gonna cut into this. Doesn't work too well. Come on, you buster. And here we go. You just layer over it. Like I say, kind of like I think it's called fondant, but kind of like what a baker does with that when they're doing cakes, you know. It's exactly what I'm doing here. And if you don't know what that is, just watch what I'm doing. We just want to hide that foil, of course, you know, with a nice smooth layer of green stuff, because we still got to put our detail in. We got to put our nurgly pock marks, and just taking away a little extra right here. Our nurgly pock marks, and make it look, you know, because the tinfoil had that kind of shape to it. I left it on there. It's gonna look kind of like loose, foldy, nasty looking skin anyway. So now I'm pulling out the big dog right here. The heavy smusher is what I should call this, because it's a heavy smusher. It will put down the green stuff. It'll smash it into your element, whatever you're putting it on, and at the same time really like flatten out a large area. I love this tool. And that tool, I think that tool came in a clay kit for kids. It was like a starter kit, and it had all these tools in it, and I was like, you know, I don't know how long I'm gonna be doing this, you know. And I picked that up, man. That's older than probably some people viewing this video. I bet you I've had that thing for a good 20 years at least. I've had it for a minute. And here we go. We can see that the shoulder pad fell off. So I know I got to bulk up that shoulder a little bit more. I am so sorry about being off camera here, guys. And here, once again, we're just using our embossing tool, going and making all of our texture. If I could stay on cam. And I'm using several different at a time here and keeping them all lubed up, being very random with my texturing. And when you put the embossing tools in, sometimes if they're a little sticky, twist them, like you see me doing a couple of times there. See, just twist it. But keep them lubed. Keep them lubed up. Wipe away any excess lube. Hardy har, har har. You can see the randomness though. Think moon crater. You know, like this guy's drying up. He's not so gooey as what the other ones are. You know, he's had a lot of those boils and zits pop. So, in here, I'm going to just show you guys what we finished up here. There's a guy that we were just working on. He's all done. I've added texture all over, filled in all the gaps, and you can see, can't tell that there was tinfoil there before, and it looks like it came that way. That's the illusion we want. And then here, I'm really happy with this guy. We added tentacles. Look at that. We added tentacles. How cool is that? And look at that eye. Look at that eye. This he's pretty cool looking. So that's about it, guys. It's how we do it. Thank you guys again. Just a quick, easy conversion playing with green stuff. I hope you enjoyed it. Take care, guys.